Hey everyone, LiveLock here with some good news for all the Lightning Cleave build lovers out there. If you're getting tired of playing the Wildfire build for Mythic Plus as an Elemental Shaman, then this is very good news for you and very exciting because you have the second build that you can actually switch to for a Tyrannical week. I did some tests just recently, and we're going to go over those tests with a A/B comparison between Algathar's as Fortified, Wildfire, and Algathar's as Lightning Cleave Tyrannical. So quickly, we'll just go over the changes. 10% to Lightning Bolt, 6% to Lava Burst, 6% to Elemental Blast and Earth Shock, and a really large increase for Ice Fury, but Ice Fury does so little damage and you cast it so infrequently that this actually doesn't really matter at all. So I'm not sure what they're thinking with the Ice Fury damage increase, but I mean more damage is fine, of course, but it's still going to be like 1-2% of your overall damage. Um, Ice Fury shocks generate more Maelstrom, which is very nice. You can actually feel it as well. Frost shock damage is increased, which is very good for doing like a 3 to 4 target AoE as Lightning Cleave. These definitely affect Lightning Cleave builds more than the other builds because the overall damage breakdown of Lightning Cleave is going to be like, your top damage is going to be, actually, we can switch over to this. This is going to be like roughly your breakdown for every boss fight as Lightning Cleave. Your top damage is going to be Lightning Bolt, like around 34% by a really good margin, and Earth Shock. So the biggest damage buff that we got was to Lightning Bolt, and that's going to have an outsized impact on this build. Earth Shock, the second one, you'll have a decent increase as well. So I haven't been playing this build enough recently to give A/B comparisons between like this before, this after, but now I'm just comparing it with like, okay, maybe I run this on tyrannical weeks instead of running a Wildfire all the time with an Elemental Blast maybe. So I'll start off with the first build that we'll look at. This was in Algathar's. This is the Wind Guy. I call him just the Wind Guy. The Wind Guy usually has very very high kill time for me and Pugs because everyone doesn't press any buttons here, and I can't really help out because I usually do like like 40 to 50k DPS on this guy. But one of the good things about this build, among like other utility CDR that you get CDR on your pet passively through casting lightning bolts. So one of the best parts about this build is that you can actually just lean into all the strength and utility that you have without making any of these trade-offs that you have to make with the fire build. You don't have to spend 4 points getting the totem talent. You don't have to spend a bunch of other well, you can now get the CDR talent because you're doing so many more lightning bolts than you were before. But you can see like right here, like this is no CDs, just my pet. My pet's up basically every other pack, because of all the CDR that you're doing through lightning bolt casting, and I'm doing like 70k single target damage on this guy. That's much more than, well, here we'll switch over. Here was the same build on last week and Fortified week. They're both 20 academies, so roughly the same. I haven't gotten that much better or worse in this time. I don't know what the second flame shock is on, but it's on something. So I'm actually doing better than I should be doing. Probably something that left over from the other pack. I'm not sure, but you can see like this is the best that this build's going to do. Well, the thing with this build is that you actually can like really pop off, and it really just depends on how many procs you get of your ascendants through deeply rooted elements. So right now I'm doing like 50k, so 49k, and we're only halfway through this guy. And I haven't even been like misplaying anything really. Like I've been casting more or less nonstop the entire time. So if I just like skip forward a little bit to the end, I end at like 50, yeah, about 50k. So that was basically like a 20k DPS difference in pure single target damage, which is where Lightning Cleave build actually does really well. So not to focus too much on the strengths of it, we'll just go to the first pull of Algathar's. On Tyrannical week, the first pull obviously lasts way shorter than the first pull does on Fortified week, so the DPS will look a little bit better. But the good thing about, well, the way that this works with AoE damage is in order to do AoE damage, what you really have to do is you have to tab target. You kind of treat Ellie in this build like you used to treat Enhancement Shaman with Lashing Flames. like you have to treat like you have to tap target Lashing Flames as often as you can so that you get like the damage buff. The playstyle is very similar, except instead of Lashing Flames as your tap target, what you're doing is tap targeting to apply the Lightning Rod debuff. So you can see right now I have like 1, 2, 3 mobs that have Lightning Rod debuffs, which means all of this AoE damage is getting multiplied onto those mobs, and it's like not very intuitive whatsoever. I don't think the Sims make an attempt to spread the debuff like this. I think it just keeps it on one target more or less. And it seems weird too because you just do like 3 earthquakes in a row. That's my goal, is to like have full maelstrom, 3 earthquakes, then unload my stormkeeper so it gets multiplied to the highest effect that it actually can be. But if you can see right here, like this is good damage. Like I'm doing like 260k DPS. Now I won't be able to maintain this like indefinitely, unlike with your wildfire build. But the thing is, with Tyrannical Week, like the packs are gonna die way faster. So I'm gonna end up here with like 200k, and as it gets lower and lower, the damage will get lower as well. But that is like respectable damage. And the other good thing about this damage is that it doesn't have a lot of setup time. So like you can have these ad phases where you just like send giant stormkeepers out, and that's fine. Like you don't have to worry about first applying 5 different flame shocks so you can get a big primordial wave off and hope that the other people don't delete it. Now you can be that guy that deletes all of the people's ads that they need for funnel. Now you're not the one that has to suffer. But just for posterity, we'll do the same thing over here on Fortified Week. So this is Wildfire Fortified, just as a control for the experiment. I was able to burst up to like 280k DPS, but it falls off, especially as your pet leaves and without Stormkeeper. But you do get way more Stormkeepers because of the CDR. Actually applies to Stormkeeper as well. But you're not going to beat the consistent mass damage that you're going to do with Wildfire, because the big reason is that while you still do take Magma Chamber as Lightning Cleave, you don't really have a good mechanism for spreading around your so here, actually, this is not really a great example because like this pull is going to drag on forever, but I'm pretty sure I already have like as much AoE damage on this build as I do with the other build. But yeah, you don't have a mechanism for like extending and spreading your flame shocks, so you can't make the most out of Magma Chamber. Magma Chamber is actually really good for like 1 to 3 targets you can actually do Magma Chamber. But even then, it might be an AoE DPS decrease to bother casting it at all, because you have to weigh that against the penalty, which is you're missing out on earthquakes and lightning bolts, and those are actually going to give you big CDR. So I think people really haven't theory crafted this build a lot. I don't know the optimal way to do a lot of these things, but no question, like Wildfire, way better for mass sustained AoE, and this is just like the control for that. But to go back to the thing that I'm excited about, which is like the one pure single target DPS, which there are a good amount of dungeons this week. Algathard actually is a pretty good example of this too. We'll take a look at, so we did the wind guy. We'll look at Crawth, the end of the Crawth fight. So this is Crawth. I'm at 74k single target DPS. We did Lust during this fight. So this is like, with Lust, with this build, things change actually like a fair amount. I'll go over target dummy stuff later on, but yeah, this is like 74k single target. Like I have never done 74k single target DPS as the Wildfire build. And actually, look, like I'm able to live so much longer in this build. I was able to get, through CDR, I got my Astral back, so I can use it on the first and second phases of the ball resets. Because remember, this is tyrannical. So like part of the reason that I want to do this is actually did my Nature's Guardian go? Like part of the reason I want to do this is because I get to keep all the utility without having to worry about like living, like or dying. Like I have Nature's Guardian, I have CDR on all of my defensives, like, and all of my offensives as well, which includes AG. So I'm getting lots of CDR. I can live a long time, and I do really good single target damage without sacrificing a ton of AoE damage. It's like perfect for Tyrannical Week. Whereas if we go back to Fortified Week and we look at the end of the Crawth fight over here, I think this was a decent fight for me. I'm at 60k at this point, at towards the end of the fight. The overall DPS of this fight of this fortified was 120k, whereas the other one was 112k. So that's like fortified. That really isn't like saying much about the builds necessarily, but yeah. So at the end of this one, we're about to kill him, and I'm at just under 60. Looks like maybe 58k. So that's going to be like another 13 14k single target DPS difference, which is like a really massive amount, especially when like the only thing that matters in these keys is like beating the bosses, right? Like that's really the only thing you have to worry about on Tyrannical Week for a lot of these places. um so if we go one other fight that I was really surprised by actually was the last boss. Is it Dorogosa, I think? Dorogosa, yeah. So skipping, this is towards the end of the Dorogosa fight. I'm at 70k single target DPS as well. Uh, and this one doesn't even have lust. So I don't know what to say about that. That's like great, right? Like my DPS is actually going up as time goes on. I think I get 2 pets here, so I can do 2 burst phases of 30 seconds. Uh, pet changes your rotation like a lot as well. This rotation to me is like so much more fun than wildfire. There's like so much depth to it, and you really have to decide in real time what kind of damage profile you want to be doing. Um, and you do that by changing like the order of your rotation more or less, and like the filler spells that you include. There's so many different ways you can play it, but yeah, at the end of this, we do 70k single target damage on that last boss, which I was like, okay, this feels really good. I am not throwing by any means. I am not throwing the the trash packs. I am still doing very good single target, way more than I thought I'd be doing. Going over to the fortified week one as that last boss. This is towards the end. I actually die over here, I think earlier in the fight, but it doesn't even matter that much because like I mean this isn't unusual. Like you can actually get unlucky on single target boss fights with wildfire and just do like 40 to 50k like DPS, and it's like terrible. Nothing you can really do about it, right? It's not a skill thing. Like you need DRE procs before you can actually do damage. Okay, so there we go. I got a DRE proc, and a reproc too. So that's just like yeah. No one thinks this build is good single target, but it's just it's crazy to see the difference in like average gameplay. Like I haven't been practicing cleave at all, and I was able to pull off 72k single target DPS. Whereas I play this build week after week, and I can still have some where I do like 45 50k single target DPS. So that's like a 20k difference. That's like an entire healer worth of extra damage if they didn't have to heal at all. That makes a very big difference. Is there anything else? So one thing that might be worth mentioning, going back to Tyran, the last thing I'll show you, then we'll jump over to Target Dummy, is not the Wind Guy, but this Alpha Bird pack over here. Now this pack, the problem with this pack is usually that everyone deletes the ads and then single targets down the Alpha Eagle. So you do have kind of funnel with this build. What funnel means with this build is that you don't really tab target your lightning rod debuff, but you're still doing a lot more damage to the ads than you are the primary target. Well, actually, here we can just confirm that really quickly. So this is the first pull after what was it, or before Crawth, Alpha Eagle, right? So here we have Alpha Eagle, and we'll look at this, the damage done. Oh, did we wipe here? We might wipe here. Yeah, that's right. That was the wipe. So okay, damage done, Alpha Eagle, and we want to know for me the damage done to enemy. The Alpha Eagle, I did about half and half damage, almost half and half damage, half to the Alpha Eagle, half to everybody else. So, and if I look at Alpha Eagle, what's my primary? Yeah, so that was all the funnel damage that I was able to pull off through Lightning Rod. It's not a lot. I probably could have minimized damage to the ads by not using Earthquake, but like this just is not really a funnel build, unfortunately. Whereas with Wildfire, you actually do have the option to do a little bit of funnel. You can see here, like everything's dead. I'm doing 220k DPS, so I'm not really doing anyone any favors, especially the funnelers here. I'm like a windwalker now when it comes to like AoE. I'm just gonna like send all my stuff and whatever happens happens. Um, so if we go look at the equivalent on Fortified Week for the 1 alpha pack, any better? Basically, you have natural funnel here because you have to do a ton of lava bursts. Um, and do I do it? Let's see. I am doing quite a bit of earthquaking, and looks like I don't have the build where I take elemental blast. So I guess it was basically the same. I was just being a dick here too. Yeah, it was exactly the same actually. When I'm in pugs, I just go for overall. Like can't blame me, right? Um, okay, so that was just a high level overview. The difference between the builds, like my first initial impressions. I'll just go over some target dummy stuff over here before we wrap up the video. I'll just give people like some, some inferences that I have. One thing that's nice is that you get to use a Howling Rune now, which gives you a bit more haste. I have a lot of haste actually, so it's pretty nice. The rotation from my guide, I think, is mostly the same. Um, when you're doing pure single target, so there's a couple of differences, and it's hard to explain in real time, but I'll try to do it in slow motion. The way that you have to think about this build is that like you're executing combos. So like your main combo is going to be, of course, Frost Shock, Lava Burst, which buffs your Earth Shock, which buffs your Lightning Bolt through Surge of Power. That's your main combo. And when we're talking like single target, like you're looking for reasons to deviate from that combo. So it's still single target. I'm still going to go with the combo. It's Frost Shock, Lava Burst, Earth Shock, and then Lightning Bolt. And as we go faster and faster, as we get more haste, and as we have our pet out, because the pet also reduces cast time of Lightning Bolt, what you have to do is react to that by having different like sub combos. So the buff that Frost Shock applies to your target, I think lasts 6 seconds. So the question is like, okay, if I have, what amount of haste do I have at a breakpoint, which means I can fit, instead of just a Lava Burst, Earth Shock, Lightning Bolt into that window, when can you fit 2 of those cycles into that window? And if you have Bloodlust, then you should be able to fit 2 of those cycles into it, which would mean that you would do Frost Shock, Lava Burst, Earthquake, Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst, Earth Shock, Lightning Bolt. And that would all fit into that window, and the buff would still be there. And it's really hard to pull this off because you have to make sure that you have enough Maelstrom to pull it off, and you have to know what your current haste situation is. See if maybe I can do it. You really want to go into packs here with as much Maelstrom as you can, if only to do like your tap targeting AoE DPS stuff. But here, let's see. So I'm going to. I'll start by doing my pet. This. Everything's set up. Do all my cooldowns. Couple bursts here. And I fit 2 in. There. I'm probably going to keep on doing this because my Maelstrom is getting too high, so I want to lose some. Otherwise I would cap. And keep on doing 2 cycles in there. Let's see. I'm doing over 100k single target damage right now, which feels great considering we suck at single target damage. And you'll see as the haste from Bloodlust goes away. And now we're back to regular haste. Actually, not yet. There we go. Now we're regular haste. So now we don't have enough haste to do that combo anymore. We have to resort to just Lava Burst, Earth Shock, Lightning Bolt, and maybe another Lightning Bolt because like you have to anyway. Like you can't have this buff up all the time. And we're done. A minute, 77k. Very nice. That playstyle, I find it to be really satisfying and rewarding because you just have to dynamically adjust to how many things you can fit into this damage window that Electrified Shocks gives you, because it's buffing all of your Lightning Bolts. So There's lots of little tricks you can do, lots of like little sub combos. Like for example, one other combo that you can do is you can do start the window, lava burst, then okay, hang on. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. There, okay. Now we're okay. We're reset. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do. Well, actually, we can't do it because the pet's not up. But one thing that you can do if the pet was up would be do Earth Shock, Lightning Bolt, Earth Shock, Instant Lightning Bolt, and that would fit into the Frost debuff window as well. So you really have to like play around with this. People haven't, I don't think, put any enough time into this spec into this build to figure out like what's optimal or all like the cool little tips and tricks you can do in Mythic Plus. But I think it's worth it now because the single target damage is like that much better, and the AoE damage isn't like anywhere near as bad as you might be made to believe. Okay, so here I'll show you AoE. The ideal situation for AoE. Remember, you're just gonna. The secret is Lightning Rod. You're gonna be tab targeting. Even it's weird because you tab target and you apply your debuff even if you cast Earthquake. Even though Earthquake is like a floor target ability, it still applies the debuff, which is kind of weird. But whatever, that's how it is. So I'm just gonna tab target. I'm really not gonna worry. I'm only gonna apply these the Frost debuff for my Stormkeeper empowered lightning chain lightnings. I think that's the right move because those things hit so hard that buffing those is definitely worth it. But otherwise, I think you don't really apply these until you have to move. But in practice, you'll move a lot, so you will be applying it a lot anyway. But it's a good button to press. So here, I'll reset it. I'll show you what one of those looks like. So we start with Pet, Ice Fury, Lightning Rod, buffs, flying 3 Lightning Rods, and bam, 2 more Lightning Rods. There. And this is it. Now you probably want to apply it when you're doing like these sprees of chain lightnings. Then you do a dump again, and now you spam chain lightning. You don't really worry too much about. You don't really worry too much about like frost shock, sorry, fire shock, flame shock, I don't think. But there. This is basically the entire thing, and the CDR is really, really noticeable. Here, Stormkeeper's up already, less than a minute. Here, and you're literally just doing this forever. There. There's definitely a lot of like little things you can do as well. The skill ceiling is very high. There. Frost Shock is really good, actually, at generating Maelstrom, especially now after those buffs. It feels pretty good. So maybe you do always use your Frost Shock, I don't know. I'm gonna have to play around with this like a lot more this week. So you can see though, as time goes on, like the damage is definitely going down. There. But I'm about to hit my 3rd Stormkeeper in a minute and a half. So this will actually be good. Here. Big Stormkeeper. And the 2nd charge. There. So 170k DPS is like not terrible. It's like a good like, maybe 10 to 40k DPS lower in AoE sustained than the wildfire build. And most of your damage, you can see the breakdown over here. You have to play it correctly because Lightning Rod can do a ton of damage. But if you don't tab target your Lightning Rod, then you're not going to get like anywhere near the benefit that you were seeing there. Like you would have literally like maybe, I don't know, 8% additional damage instead of 18% additional damage. So you really have to like overlap these damage windows and pack as much into it as you really can. But I'm going to run it this week. I think the buffs make it a lot better than it was before. The strengths on Tyrannical Week are pretty obvious. You can do, sometimes like 30k more single target damage. And look at the tree that you're going to have, like, without these 4 talent points. I know this is becoming a little bit better in 10.0.7, but, we're not there yet. Like, I'm able to get everything I want, like literally everything that I want. I have the boop up in the air. I have Nature's Guardian. I have Cap Totem. I have both of our defensive talents with avoidance and our Earth Ellie pet. One downside is that you can't have Earth Ellie out while your Lightning Ellie is out, so you have to make sure not to overlap them because they'll dismiss each other because they're like official pets now. And then sometimes actually in that dungeon I was running instead of the boop up, I kept the boop back because I could still use that in some places. And I took the the DR on Spirit Wolf because I thought I would need it for a Crawth. I don't know if I actually did need it for Crawth. Ended up getting a Pally to give me sack. But yeah, this is like so nice, right? Like imagine actually getting all of your utility instead of losing all of your utility for a totem reset, right? Like honestly, if they would just make like a Magma Totem a 45-second cooldown, you wouldn't even need to take this. Like it would be fine, as it is. But yeah, that's the state of it. I think the changes make a big difference for Lightning Cleave. I'm excited to try Lightning Cleave out for Tyran weeks again, and maybe not on some bosses where there's like a lot of sustained funnel. But like it's so nice to have two builds you can play. It's so refreshing and it keeps the game fresh for me at least. So let me know what you guys think. Test out the build for yourself. Give it another shot if you've given up on it before, because these buffs actually are really nice. Let me know how it goes. See ya.